This bar chart compares the sheer size of the world's foundational texts. The Iliad and the Odyssey combined look like a footnote next to the Mahabharata, which towers over them at roughly 1.8 million words. The surface of this massive text is packed with fantastical elements. It features divine beings walking among mortals, magical weapons called astras capable of leveling cities, and an apocalyptic 18-day war that restores cosmic order. Because of these supernatural elements, early Western academics and colonial scholars dismissed the entire epic. To them, it was a chaotic, primitive myth with zero historical basis. On the opposite extreme, some modern political factions argue that every verse is a literal, documented historical fact, right down to the flying chariots and the gods. Treating the text as either pure fantasy or literal history misses the point entirely. To understand what actually happened, we have to look at the text the way an archaeologist looks at a trench, by digging through the layers. The epic did not start out as a 100,000-verse behemoth. It began in the Iron Age as an oral tradition, sung by charioteer bards who witnessed real dynastic conflicts. At the center is the oldest layer, an 8,800-verse poem called Jaya. Over centuries, storytellers expanded that core into a 24,000-verse version, the Bharata. Finally, generations of commentaries accreted around it, forming the massive outer ring we know today as the Mahabharata, containing 100,000 verses. This layered growth reflects a living tradition, a narrative significant enough to be carried, expanded, and protected by a civilization across millennia. Strip away the divine weapons and the mythological elaborations, and you find an intensely human exploration of psychology and trauma. The text is anchored by the concept of dharma sankata, the agonizing, paralyzing conflict of choosing the right action when every single available option leads to complete ruin. We see this clearly when King Yudhishthira gambles away his kingdom and his family in a rigged dice game, trapped between the social duty of honoring a challenge and the personal disaster of losing everything. We see it again on the eve of battle, when the great warrior Arjuna drops his bow to the ground, completely paralyzed by the impossible choice of slaughtering his own cousins and teachers to restore political order. Long before it was canonized as a religious text, this story functioned as a psychological mechanism. It gave a civilization a framework to process the trauma of impossible choices and devastating warfare. But literary analysis only gets us so far. To find the physical truth, we must look at what modern science pulls out of the ground when excavating the exact locations named in the epic. At Hastinapur, the legendary capital of the Kuru kingdom, archaeologists uncovered a distinct style of ceramics called painted gray ware. Among these artifacts, they found oblong ivory dice, perfectly matching the specific pieces used in Yudhishthira's infamous gambling match. This cross-section illustrates the stratigraphy at the Hastinapur excavation. Between the layers of human habitation, a thick band of blue-gray clay severs the timeline. This clay layer represents a catastrophic flood that, according to ancient texts, destroyed the Kuru capital and forced its abandonment. 100 miles away at Kurukshetra, the site of the Great 18-Day Battle, excavations have surfaced Iron Age spearheads, arrowheads, and the remains of chariots. This confirms that large-scale warfare occurred exactly where the text says it did. Thermoluminescence testing dates these weapons roughly between 1500 and 1000 BCE. This physical timeline aligns tightly with the estimated historical period of the Kuru dynasty. And off the coast of Gujarat, marine archaeologists searching for Krishna's sunken capital of Dwarka discovered massive, artificially cut stone blocks and bastion walls resting on the ocean floor, right where the epic claimed the sea swallowed the city. The discovery of these sites and artifacts provides a physical context for the narrative. The specific geography, the urban planning, and the evidence of conflict all match the world described in the text. Archaeology has strict limits. It cannot confirm the specific names of the heroes who fought, and it certainly cannot verify divine interventions or curses. What it does confirm is a continuous civilizational memory. The text accurately preserved the geographic, political, and military realities of late Vedic India across thousands of years. The Sanskrit tradition has a specific word for this kind of text, itihasa. It translates literally to "thus it happened," a sacred framework designed specifically to preserve historical memory. The rigid Western division between literal history and pure myth fails here. Indigenous knowledge systems like itihasa hold factual memory and sacred meaning together. They do not force a separation between the two. The Mahabharata is the living memory of a real civilizational trauma. It is validated by the ground beneath it, and it was passed down through millennia to teach humanity the ultimate, devastating cost of war.